This is the Sixth Man Show, an Orlando Magic podcast, with your hosts, Kevin Tucker and Jonathan Osborne, covering all things Magic basketball. By fans, for fans. Go Magic!
What's going on, Orlando Magic fans? You guys are back with the Sixth Man Show. Today is February 24th, 2025. Jonathan Osborne here, as always, joined by my co-host, Kevin Tucker. Kevin, what's up, man?
What's up? Happy birthday to Stuff. Shout out Stuff.
Happy birthday, Stuff.
I guess he's as old as the Magic, so he's, 36? Turning 36 today, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I was celebrating Stuff's birthday on Sunday. They came against Washington, so shout out Stuff, the best mascot in sports. But I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well, man. You and I don't know we're just dragging tonight. Usually,
bro.
Like even after like West Coast games when we're doing this at 12:30, 1 a.m. Like the energy is usually pretty good. You and I, like the last 20 minutes are like, I don't know. It's 9:40 p.m. Eastern time on a Sunday, and this is I'll be 32 in August. You're 33 this year?
This year, yes. I'm currently 32, but yes, I turned 33. Yeah, in April.
I was gonna say, and then next couple of months here. So
yep,
that's what happens when you get old, and it's always funny. Like you run into older people in life, and they're like, "Oh, I'm 50 years old, and this hurts and that hurts." I'm like, man, I feel old. I'm 32 and everything's already falling apart. They're like, oh man, you're just whatever, all that kind of stuff. Anyways, you all don't care about that. You want to hear us talk about the Orlando Magic. And I want to let you all know that our next watch party is coming up March 14th. It's a Friday when the Magic take on the Minnesota Timberwolves. We will be back at Stadium Club over there at Caribe Royale, Orlando, 8101 World Center Drive in Orlando. That is an 8 o'clock tip-off, so that watch party will start going around 7:30. Again, this is the best watch party venue that we have. The atmosphere is awesome. It's just a beautiful resort. The restaurant, the Stadium Club there is just like so sick. I can't wait for Kevin to see it. I know I've talked about it a ton, and he's seen videos and pictures. But until you walk in, you can't really, pictures and video and me talking about it don't really do it justice. And the food is incredible. The staff is awesome. The sports simulator bays, they have the 360 bar with the 360 video board, over top, and it's got the balcony and the second level. Just really awesome venue. If you're free that night, be there with us. If you have plans, cancel them and make these your new plans. So again, we're going to be at Stadium Club Orlando, located in Caribe Royale, Orlando, and that address is 8101 World Center Drive. Again, March 14th, Friday. Tip-off is at 8 o'clock.
I can't wait to order one of everything off the menu, because that menu looks ridiculous. It looks so good.
Yeah, the burger, absolutely will be going back to that. I know I talked about that a couple of episodes ago, but they brought it out, and I was like, yeah, this looks okay. And then, just the freshness of the toppings, like the lettuce and tomato and the pickle and the pickled onions, just was off the charts good. So looking forward to getting that once again. And if, especially if you're watching on YouTube, because we don't really number the episode, like the podcast episodes that go out on Apple and Spotify and all that kind of stuff. But if you're watching on YouTube, this is episode 499, Kevin.
Wow.
And thinking back, I think I could count on two hands the amount of episodes that I missed in that time. I think it's less than 10. I'm pretty sure it is. So to think that I've done this roughly 490 times, and the fact that you, myself, Luke, and some others, we've put out basically 500 of these over the course of the last 6 years. So as this is releasing Monday, Thursday will be episode 500. And if you've been around special anniversaries that we have, or these centennial marks, we try to have big guests and try to make those episodes pretty special. Sad to announce that we don't have anything like that planned for this one. Just kidding. We have Orlando Magic head coach Jamal Mosley is going to, we've already recorded the interview with Coach Jamal Mosley. he took time, away from his family this past weekend to record almost 20 minutes with us. We told him going into it, like, hey, we know you don't like talking about yourself, but we really want Magic fans to get to know you, the person, a little bit more. So we talked Jamal Mosley. Obviously, we talked a lot of Orlando Magic, and there's some fun stuff mixed in there as well. Just really went really awesome. Like Kevin and I, whenever we have these types of big opportunities and they like go well, like oh, thanks so much for coming by, and then we hang up, and then Kevin and I are like, let's go. And this was another one of those, and I think people are really going to enjoy it.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I think people are really going to enjoy it because we see Jamal Mosley a lot, right? Like every press conference, think about it. Part of a head coach's job is just PR, right? They're doing so many, post-game interviews, pre-game interviews, post-practice media scrums. Like they're just always in front of the media, but it's always very surface level maybe, and he's always talking about the team and the ups and the downs and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, this was a really cool opportunity to kind of peel back some of those layers and talk a little bit about him, talk a little bit about his past, about his time in Orlando, about some of the highs that he's had here, some of his favorite moments and that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, I think Magic fans will really, really like it. I know we definitely enjoyed getting to talk with him.
And we also asked him, like, hey, like the defense has not been up to the standard in which, we're kind of accustomed to. And why do you think that is? And, he gave a really insightful interview. So I think this, like, you're going to be able to see Coach Mosley in a light that maybe you haven't exactly seen him in before. It was much, the pod, it's much more casual and not as, buttoned up as, some of like the pressers and stuff. So yeah, just really appreciative to the Magic and the PR team for helping make that happen. And appreciate Coach Mosley for taking the time. It was so much fun. And yeah, I just want to give you all a teaser, and now you can wait the next 3 days. You know it's coming, and you can't hear it yet. But yeah, that'll be part of our episode on Thursday. Just really appreciative for the opportunity. And yeah, I hope you all enjoy that and hope you guys are looking forward to that. Okay, let's talk some Orlando Magic basketball, Kevin. We've got a lot to talk about. Since the last time that we recorded, the Magic have played the Hawks, the Grizzlies, the Wizards tonight, and we'll touch on all of that. But let's get into this week's State of the Magic. This week, the Magic went 2-1 with a win over the Hawks, a frustrating loss to the Grizzlies at home, and then a win over the Wizards at home on Sunday. Now sitting at 29-30 on the year, the Magic are 7th in the Eastern Conference at the time of this recording. They are 18.5 games back of Cleveland, 13 games back of Boston, 9 games back of New York, 5 games back of Indiana, 4.5 games back of Milwaukee, 3 games back of Detroit, 1 game up on Miami, 2 games up on Atlanta, and 6 games up on the Bulls, who are, I think they've lost their last 6 in a row and are sliding. So it seems like the teams that are really sort of in the hunt still, like you're playing for seeds like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Like the 10 seed is going to be, maybe the Bulls or, the Philadelphia 76ers, maybe the Brooklyn Nets. Like those 3 teams feel like, or hey, even the Raptors feel like they're kind of in that conversation as well there. But the Magic on the year are now 28th in offensive rating. The last time that we recorded, they were 29th. So the offense is still not great, but at least it is heading in a upwards and positive trajectory there, trending upwards. 28th in offensive rating with an offensive rating of 107.4. Second, up from third. They are now second in the league in defensive rating with a defensive rating of 108.3 and 18th in the league in net rating with a negative net rating of 0.9. So with the level of defense that the Magic have been playing the last couple of weeks, the fact that not only are they standing firm in the top 3 of the league, but now they've made their way up to 2 does feel kind of crazy. But you have to give the Magic credit here for now basically 3/4 of the way through the season. They've been the second best team in terms of defensive efficiency since the start of the season. The last 3 games, because now we're going to start looking at stuff post All-Star break. I feel like that is, appropriate. You got 8 days off, and now we don't want to look back before the All-Star break because hopefully this team has gotten that rest. They've gotten a good reset. So we're going to be looking at things kind of through the post All-Star break lens. So in the last 3 games, the Magic are 16th in the league in offensive rating with an offensive rating of 110.8. They are 3rd in defensive rating, 101.7, and 7th in overall net rating with a positive net rating of 9.1. Now, when you look at some of the opponents that we've had, the Hawks, who are struggling right now, the Wizards, who have been struggling all season long and, for the better part of this decade, right? But you can only play the teams that are in front of you, and what we've been asking the Magic to do is during this stretch, like, win the games that you should. So we're certainly not going to fault them for doing that. Kevin, 23 games remaining on the schedule, which is crazy to think about already. You have 12 home games left. You have 11 road games left as well. We're right in the middle of this long home stretch. You have, let's see, Cleveland, Golden State, Toronto, Chicago. So you've got 5 home games in this homestand remaining. At that point, there will be 18 games remaining, and 11 of those 18 are going to be on the road. So you have to take care of business at home. And you and I were talking before we recorded, like, 23 games, that's a little bit more than a quarter of the season. But when we think back, like, the home loss to Utah was 23 games ago. And factor in that we've also had like an 8-day break in that stretch as well. Like, that doesn't feel very long ago, and we only have 23 games remaining until the regular season is over.
Here's what's kind of crazy. Like, as you say those numbers, 23 games left. And I don't mean this to be painful, like to invoke pain on some people, but I'm just going to say it. The Magic have won 29 games this year, right? They're 29-30. If the Magic go 23-0, they win every game the rest of the way, they will be at 52 wins. 52, which for some people was their projection for the season, 52 wins. So that's how far off the pace the Magic are right now for what was expected. Not necessarily that everyone expected 52 wins, but most people expected around 50. I mean, you win 47 last year, so you expect a little bit of an improvement, right? For some people. So it's a little bit of like, dang, man, like a reality check that we're this close to the end of the season, but the thought of reaching the goals that were kind of laid out for us before the season, they just feel hopeless at this point. But what is still within reach is getting into the playoffs, avoiding the play-in. Still very much within reach. I still think the Magic can do it. I think they will do it. But you're right. It has to start with this homestand. You got to finish what we started here. 1-1 so far on the homestand. We'll see how the last 5 of this homestand go.
And like you pointed out before we started recording, that it really could be like 23 games left of the regular season. It could be 25 games left of the entire season.
Right.
If you stand pat sort of where you are and you lose the 7 and 8 game and then you lose the next game, your season's over.
Yep.
Which there are positive signs I think we could agree on coming out of the All-Star break.
Yeah.
But it does still feel like that's a very realistic possibility. I don't think we've seen enough out of this team to completely disregard that possibility, right? Like if you end up, if it's Orlando, Miami in the 7-8 game, even though you could be hosting that game, you could lose that game to Miami, right? Like those teams have had some battles this year. And then if you're playing Atlanta, every single one of those games against Atlanta seems to come down to the last couple of minutes. So it's not outside the realm of possibilities. Like I said, some positive signs coming out of the break here. We'll talk about like the first game out of the break in just a moment, which, by the way, happened to be against Atlanta. Some concerning and some troubling signs early on in that one. Now they ended up, with the dub. But yeah, it's wild. Last season was the longest season that we've had since doing the pod, because they went into the playoffs, had a 7-game series instead of a 5-game series like in 2019 or 2020. And then even though we went deeper into the postseason, the offseason just felt so much longer, in my opinion. It's sort of like the anticipation of like, okay, we had our taste of the playoffs. Next year will be even better. But like the season just as long as it felt like 3 seasons, it's still gone by very quickly. Like to think we were not just at Media Day. We were at Media Day almost 5 months ago now. Mm-hmm. And now we're kind of looking down the barrel at the last quarter of the season. And to think like we just have to do the Jazz home loss to today again and the regular season's over. And even shorter than that because you don't have the All-Star break.
7 weeks from today, as we're recording this, Sunday night, 7 weeks from today is the end of the regular season. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. And I think so it was the Jazz game that we played. What was that? January 5th. And then 5 days later, Paolo came back.
Yeah.
So, hey, if you get rid of the 8 days from the All-Star break, like we have basically from the point that Paolo came back until now, and that's the regular season.
Yep.
Like in
wild,
an extra couple of days there, but yeah, it's coming quickly, and it's just, I know we're gonna. I guess this is a good opportunity to go into the injury report. Jonathan Isaac was available tonight. Missed the last game due to an illness. Played in this one tonight against Washington, and then Jalen Suggs still out with the left quad contusion. That was against Detroit, so that was January 25th. So it's basically been an entire month now, essentially, since Jalen has been out. Isn't practicing, isn't even listed as doubtful ahead of these games. He's just, listed as out. So you have to wonder, like, how much longer will it be until he comes back? And that, for me, is, like, not the last remaining hope, but that, I think, is our last chance for this team to, like, do a real 180 from where they are right now. Like, right now, they're playing like a 500 basketball team. They're 29-30 on the season. They've had some good stretches. They've had some bad stretches. But for us to, get back to the team that was winning like 12 out of 13, and not every team does that. You have hot streaks, but can we get back to winning 2 out of 3 games is really what I want. And I think getting Jalen back is the last chance for this team to be able to do that.
You mentioned that he hasn't played since January 25th, which is true, but let's not forget, he also didn't play before that.
Right.
Since January 3rd. So he's played 15 minutes of basketball since January 3rd. So he's coming up on 2 months, basically, of being out. That's a long time to miss such a key player. But, we've already done that with this team, right? We missed Paolo for basically 2 months. Missed Franz for, I don't remember what it was, 6 weeks or something like that. And now here you are with Jalen staring down the barrel of missing 2 months now. It's crazy. And all that...
No, just the fact that we're 3/4 of the way through the season, and for each of the first 3 quarters, we've essentially not had one of our 3 best and most important players.
Correct. And the fact that those 3 players have only played together, what was it, like 5 games at the beginning of the season, and then that Detroit game?
I think Jeff Weltman said they played 6 games together.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy. That's all you get. So, but you're right. The 2 things it does for me, it gives me hope for when they're all healthy, this team could go on a run. But it also gives me hope, Jonathan. I still feel like if this team can just find a way in the playoffs and be fully healthy when that happens, they're going to make life miserable for that first round opponent. I still believe that. I'm not saying they're going to win it, but I really feel like they can make life very difficult for them and push them to the brink. So, again, am I naive? Probably, but that's how I feel.
I'm hopeful for that. Do I believe it? I don't know.
Whew. It's time now for this week's Jam Hot Chicken Jam of the Week. This one comes from Friday's game. Unfortunately, a loss, but hey, not for a lack of effort from Wendell Carter Jr., who, after this Franz Wagner missed triple, soared high above the rim for this putback dunk. It was pretty nasty. And a big part of the Magic's run there in the third quarter. Grew the lead to, I believe, 11 at that moment before it got all the way up to 19. And then, they squandered it. But hey, what's not going to let you down is Jam Hot Chicken. They're amazing, and they're located there at 400 West New England Avenue, Suite 13 in Hannibal Square. And they're the sponsors of this segment, our Jam Hot Chicken Jam of the Week. They make some of the best chicken in Central Florida. We stand by it because not only is it very good, but they're also diehard Magic fans who love this community. So again, you can check them out there in Winter Park. You can also check them out at Jam Hot Chicken on all social media and their website, jamhotchickenfl.com, to access their menu and all things Jam Hot. Don't forget, they're ranked number 4 in Yelp's top Florida restaurants a couple years ago. They're legit. They're some of the best food in town. And like I said, they're big Magic fans. So definitely check them out. And when you do, just let them know that the Six Man Show sent you.
This episode is also brought to you by Ty Mr. TV, ESPN Really Sucks, Jeremiah Quintero, Debo 1980, and Austin Lampy. Who are these people? These are some of our Hall of Fame and elite tier patrons, folks that went to patreon.com/the Six Man Show, where for as little as $2 a month, you could help financially support the Six Man Show and help us on this mission of just growing this fan base, making a more passionate, knowledgeable Magic fan base, and trying to give our Orlando Magic the home court advantage that we believe that they deserve. We can't do anything that we do, like from the podcast episodes, buying equipment, going to watch parties, all that kind of stuff, without the financial support of our patrons. So again, if you like what we do, you like the content, you want to help support the show, again, for as little as $2 a month, or if you want to, a little bit extra, you want to get some more benefits like access to our Discord community, monthly Zoom calls, all those kind of things that we offer. Again, head on over to patreon.com/the Six Man Show. We give special shout outs to brand new patrons whenever we have them. And again, we shout out some of our Hall of Fame and elite tier patrons each and every episode. We love you guys so much. Thanks again for all the love and support. And now let's get back to the episode. Okay, let's go back to Thursday night, first game right out of the All-Star break against the Atlanta Hawks. First half, relatively early in the first half, you go down 19 points. And all of a sudden, it's like the 8 days was supposed to be our saving grace. Reset, recharge.
Can I just say, the sky was falling at that point.
Dude.
Like bad. Really bad.
I thought the season was actually over. Yep. I really, actually, genuinely, truly, 100% believe that the season was over. It's like you come out of the All-Star break, and I think I tweeted, like, this is not a team that is playing as desperate as they should be at this point. Like, you should be coming out of the All-Star break, like, ready to kill somebody, ready to rip somebody's head off. Yet, in the first quarter, you find yourself, you're down 30-13, and then you're down 38-21 and down 40-21 with 10-13 to go in the first quarter. But you end up outscoring Atlanta. I believe it was 38-25 in that second quarter, and took a 1-point lead into the half. Like, as bad as that team was in, the entire first quarter and the first couple of minutes of that second, to fight all the way back to take a halftime lead was nothing short of miraculous.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the way just kind of felt like they were surviving, right? You end up winning this game 114-108. Paolo has 36, Franz has 25, Cole Anthony had 17. He had 9 in the fourth. All of them were like, no, yes, kind of Cole Anthony buckets, had another couple of big assists as well. But those three guys, the offense, again, Paolo, 36 points, 11 of 25, 11 of 16 at the free throw line. Franz with 25, 9 of 18 from the floor. He had 7 rebounds, 5 assists. Paolo had 10 rebounds, 5 assists. Wendell had 15 rebounds in this game. It was really those three guys, Paolo, Franz, Cole, and their offense that really catapulted you to that win. The defense was not great. You hold Atlanta to 39% from the floor, 31% from behind the arc. They shoot 19 of 28 at the free throw line. You put them at the free throw line way too much. Neither team really turned the ball over a ton, but it just still didn't feel like, other than that second quarter, that the defense, again, has really at the level that we need it to be. And we did talk to Jamal Mosley about that. He gave his reasoning. I'm not going to spoil that here. Shameless plug once again. But, I think everybody knows what it's going to take for this team to get back to that level, and he's sitting on the bench.
Yeah, there's two sides of me with this game. Number one is they always say, like, post All-Star rust, right? Like, you haven't played organized basketball in 8 days, whatever it is. And part of me wants to lean into that and give them a break for kind of how that first quarter was. And like you said, even the second half, really, I wouldn't consider super impressive. Like, down the stretch, I'll give them credit, like a couple huge triples there. Cole Anthony and then Paolo back-to-back to pretty much put the game away. That was fun. But yeah, it wasn't a super impressive win, I'd say. But at the same time, like like I said, 8 days post All-Star break, like a win's a win. You'll take it. But yeah, I mean, like you said, Franz was good. Paolo was good. Got to give credit to Anthony Black, by the way. Anthony Black's been playing really well lately. Had a bad night Friday night against Memphis, but obviously we're going to talk a lot about him with the Wizards game coming up. But he was strong off the bench, and so... but yeah, outside of that, I mean, the team, there wasn't a whole lot to be super excited about. Again, you shoot 24% from three, but the biggest one for me was you missed 12 free throws on the night. Like, you make your free throws, and this game is pretty much over, halfway through the fourth quarter, maybe. And so disappointing there, which, by the way, that's another theme you'll hear about in the Memphis game. Missed free throws really costing this team. But yeah, it's a road win, so you'll take it. First game after the All-Star break, so you'll take it. And can't underestimate or understate, by the way, how important that is potentially for the standings, right? You lost that game to Atlanta before the All-Star break, so now the season series is tied 1-1. You got a chance to win that season series now if you win the next two. So, again, not pretty, but it's a win, and so we'll take it.
I think under different circumstances, this would have been like a frustrating loss, where this was more just like oh, thank goodness.
Yeah, absolutely.
We found a way to win this game, and just all of the context, how much we've struggled the last few weeks, not having Mo, not having Jalen. Like, last year, there were a lot of frustrating losses because, like, oh man, we know what this team can be, and we've seen what this team can be earlier in the season, but that just feels like so long ago that I don't know if this team is still capable of being that team, if I'm being honest. But we know the flaws of this team. We know that they're going to be there basically every single night. So I'm just at the point of the year where just get wins. I don't care how they come. Just win the games. I don't care if we win every single game, not shooting the ball well, having stretches where the defense isn't great. But as long as they keep finding ways to win, I'm generally going to be okay with that.
Yeah, same.
Now, the way they found a way to lose on Friday was not something that I was particularly thrilled about. Yeah, this game, very different from the Hawks game. Had a 19-point lead in the third quarter of this game, and you led by 9 with a little over 4 minutes to go at home. Like, first of all, you had Memphis on the ropes in that third quarter, and then Gigi Jackson gets hot. Somebody else,
Desmond Bane
hit a three down that stretch. And a criticism, one of the more common criticisms or ones that we hear more frequently with Jamal Mosley is like his timeout management. And I do feel like it's overblown to a certain extent, but I do feel like at times it is fair. This was like an instance where they're starting to make that run. Wendell seemingly gets hurt, like on a, chasing after Jaren Jackson. I think, it was Brandon Clark. He trips over Brandon Clark's foot and falls and seemingly like hurt his wrist. So he came out of the game. The Magic called a timeout there. But I think even after that, I think you had like an 11 or 12 point lead. And then Gigi Jackson got hot and Desmond Bane is hitting threes. And it really felt like, just call a timeout, stop the bleeding, stop the momentum, something. And I get the other side of that is like, well, you don't want to blow all your timeouts and not have one down the stretch. But like for a team who, again, is so desperate as the Magic are, and when you have the chance to, at this point in the season, get a statement win over a team in Memphis who's been, toward the top of the Western Conference all season, and again, you're up 19 in the third quarter, and then you're up 9 with 4.5 minutes to go. Like, you just absolutely have to find a way to win that game. And then down 1 with, was it 14 seconds left?
I think it was after the free throws with the Aldama free throws. I think it was like 10. Yeah, something like that.
Let me go all the way back. Yeah, so Santia Aldama misses both of those free throws late in the fourth quarter with 11 seconds left. So you have 11 seconds left, and Goga Batadze and Franz Wagner like went to the free throw line. Jamal Mosley talked about this after the game with the understanding that the Magic were going to call a timeout, right? Like, miss free throws, whatever happens. Santi Aldama misses both free throws. The Magic are down 1. Paolo Banchero gets the rebound. You see Goga Batadze, Wendell Carter, and Franz Wagner all calling for a timeout. Like, you see Franz almost like demonstratively calling for a timeout, jumping up and down, screaming right in front of official Jenna Schroeder, by the way. No timeout is called. Paolo Banchero looks to the bench, anticipating the timeout call. Jamal Mosley did not call the timeout, so Paolo decides, like, okay, I'm just going to go. Gets across the half-court line with about 4 and some change seconds left. Seems to hesitate for like a split second. Maybe there's going to be a timeout call. There isn't. He decides to just kind of put his head down, try to get to the rim, and kind of step through. And I think it was, Jaren Jackson Jr. gets the block on Paolo to effectively end the game. So this was one of the more frustrating losses of the year. I don't want to say one of the worst losses, because Memphis, I mean, it's a bad loss. You're up 19 in the second half at home against anybody. I feel like you should win the game. You've played well enough to that point, and you've just got to get through 24 points with a 19-point advantage in front of your home crowd. I don't care what the circumstances are. If you've played well enough to that point to have that type of a lead, you have to find a way to close it out. Then you add the fact that, like, again, a 9-point lead with 4.5 minutes left. Like, you get a couple of baskets and a couple of stops, and the game is effectively, like, statistically over in most cases at that point. And then to see just the lack of communication and understanding of what to do in that situation all the way around was, like, one of the more frustrating just overall moments, like singular moments in a game of the entire season. And when you add sort of what's at stake and where we are at this point in the season, like, I was actually beside myself after this loss.
Yeah, that was hard to believe. It really was. And something I said on the post-game live was, if the plan going into that moment was we're not going to take a timeout, we're going to push the ball off the rebound and see what the defense gives you, whatever, and then, either you take what they give you or you call a timeout. I'm actually for that, right? I'm for trying to move before the defense gets set, see what can happen. But I think the frustrating part is no one was on the same page. Nobody. You have 3 guys on the floor who are calling for timeout. All 4 of the guys that don't have the basketball think timeout is coming. All 4 of them. You watch the replay. The only person that isn't thinking timeout is Paolo. Although at the beginning, I think he was thinking timeout. He gets the rebound and he stops. Why he didn't call timeout, I don't know.
Have you had the chance to go back and watch the clip that you and I had talked off air about with Paolo and Cole at the scores table?
End? Yeah.
Okay.
You will tell people about it. Yeah, go ahead.
So like the game ends, and like seconds later, the camera crew like cuts to Paolo sitting on the scores table taking out his mouthpiece, and like Cole is trying to say something to him, and you kind of see Paolo mouth like, should have called a timeout. Like, it seems like he anticipated Jamal calling the timeout when he got the rebound, and then didn't, and just decided to go.
Right. But that's the part that's a little bit confusing, because like Paolo has the ability to call timeout. Yeah. So he could have called timeout. Did he think just because Mosley wasn't signaling timeout that he shouldn't call timeout? The whole thing just comes down to communication. That's what it comes down to. And I appreciated a few things. I appreciated Coach Mosley in the postgame presser admitting fault, just straight up saying it's on him. I appreciate that. I honestly appreciate the candidness of someone like Cole. Cole mentioned the same thing. Like, we just weren't on the same page. Franz mentioned the same thing. We just weren't on the same page. I appreciate that. I hope that doesn't spill over into something more, right? Like that there's frustration between each other or between them and the coaching staff or whatever. I hope it's just a learning lesson for everybody. And I think it was. But yeah, it was very, very frustrating. And like I said, if they had just planned not to call timeout, you go down to the other end. Even if you get a bad shot and you lose the game, I would have felt less bad than I did after that game. Because honestly, not only was I frustrated, before I had time to be frustrated, I was just shocked. I was stunned. I could not believe that's how that game ended. And then, you add to it that it just wasn't a good shot. It's coming up against one of the best defenders in basketball, in Jaren Jackson Jr. Like, is that really the best you could do? I don't know. The whole thing was really frustrating, and ultimately, it's a game you should have won, like you said, and just choked it away. And the last thing I'll say, it shouldn't have come down to that shot. it shouldn't. The missed free throws kill you. Bad turnovers down the stretch. Yeah, 10 missed free throws. Had some bad turnovers down the stretch. I can think of Franz had a couple.
Franz had 2.
Yeah, missed some shots he should have made. Like, a lot of things led to it. So I don't want to point singularly to that moment, but all of it combined just led to a really brutal 1-point loss at home.
Yeah, Magic are down 1, and then with 21 seconds left, the ball gets swung to Franz in the corner, who I believe it was Brandon Clark or maybe it was Desmond Bain who closed out on him. But it looked like initially that Franz had enough time to get the shot off from the corner, but like pump faked, and then I think it was Bain like had enough time to recover, and then it became like a really closely contested 3. Cole Anthony somehow comes up with the rebound, and then like Paolo's got 16 seconds on the game clock and pulls up for 3, which if it goes in, we're all like, he's a hero, he's amazing, he's him, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. But like when you see him gather, I'm like, dude, that is not the shot that we need right now, right? Like you're down 1, like just get to the free throw line, do something. And there were, obviously you're up 19 in the third, you're up 9 with 4 minutes, 38 seconds to go. This game should not have come to this. That for me was, the one of the most frustrating things. And when we get into these late game situations, I always like record myself just in case something crazy happens and I can get that raw reaction. I could not bring myself to post the raw reaction because I was just so beside myself. I couldn't believe what had happened because it was so clear that no one knew what was going on. Like no one was on the same page with that. So,
can I just really fast? I hope that this moment from that game on Friday, it truly is a learning lesson, because that is an exact situation you can find yourselves in, say, in a playoff game, right? I really hope
at least a handful of times every season.
Right. I hope that, some people have said this team is too old now for lessons like that Jamal Mosley's been coaching for too long for lessons like that. And some of that might be true. But regardless, if that's really how this is going to go down, which is what happened, like it better be a lesson for everybody, top to bottom. And I think it is. I think it will be. But it'll be really cool if that moment gets replayed, like in another game, there's an opportunity and it plays out very differently to where the team's on the same page and they all run, from the free throw line, they gun it down to the other end and get a good shot and win the game or something like that. It'd be really cool to get that kind of redemption arc. But right now, it still definitely stings.
Yeah. And, wasn't a great Paolo game. He had 21, 5 of 21 from the floor, 1 of 6 from behind the arc, 10 of 13 at the free throw line. It was encouraging to see him knock down those opportunities. Franz, another 25-point game, 25 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks, 3 turnovers, 2 of those coming in the last minute, which really hurt you. And Cole Anthony had some big shots to help the Magic build that lead that they had to start the third quarter. Had ended up with 17 points. Yeah. There's, half a dozen losses I think that we can look back at right now and at the end of the year of like, man, should have had that one. Like I think about the Tyler Hero, the game winner. Obviously we think about this Memphis one. Obviously the stuff like Utah, Portland, that stuff comes to mind. The Miami double overtime loss. Like there's some ones that when you look back, they just really are not going to sit with you well at the end of the season.
Yep.
Now let's talk about the last game. Let's talk about the game from tonight that we just witnessed before we got on this one. I was getting texts earlier in the day from friends of mine, and they said, hey, if the Magic lose tonight, the season's over, right? And I said, yeah, like the Magic absolutely need to win. And we just got talking about how we don't really matter, or we don't really care how it looks. And you had to win this one convincingly. And this game to me was very reminiscent of the game against Charlotte, like right before the All-Star break, where first half you're kind of just going through the motions, playing with your food a little bit. very apparent that the Magic knew that, hey, if we just have like a 10-minute stretch of Magic basketball, we're going to blow this game open. And then the other team just doesn't really have enough talent or enough firepower to really make a comeback at that point. And that's exactly what we saw. The Magic actually trailed for the majority of the first half. And then Franz Wagner has an outburst, like a quick little, I think it was like 6 points in the last couple of minutes of the first half, and a layup with a few seconds left to give the Magic a 2-point lead. And then the Magic just blow the doors off of the Wizards in the second half, outscore them 32-17 in the third, 29-26 in the fourth, on their way to a 20-point win. And this was your third game in 4 nights, I believe. So obviously these guys were gassed. But Franz, Paolo, those guys, playing big minutes, got a decent break later in that game and later into the fourth quarter. Anthony Black with the career high 23 points, 7 of 12 from the floor, 4 of 5 from deep, 5 of 5 from the free throw line, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, a block in 27 minutes. Franz also had 23 points, but Anthony Black and some of those baskets from AB came in what we would call garbage time. But Anthony Black, to start this post All-Star break, his play has been really encouraging. And we've seen flashes of this in the last couple of weeks leading up to the All-Star break. Anthony Black isn't going to do that every night, right? Like, he's not going to shoot 4 or 5 from behind the arc every night. We all know that. But just the mindset of being aggressive, getting into the paint, because AB getting into the paint, he's usually doing one of two things: getting a good look at the rim, or he's finding somebody for an open three. Now, the open threes, I think we could all sit here and argue about whether that's actually a good shot for this team, but theoretically it should be. And as Jalen Suggs continues to be out, if the Magic are going to get back to winning ways and start winning, 2 out of 3, 4 out of 5 games, go on runs like that, Paolo and Franz, it doesn't seem like are going to be able to do that completely on their own. So we need every night, whether it's Anthony Black or it's Cole Anthony or it's Tristan da Silva, it really only might be those 3 guys who at this point are really capable of picking up the slack offensively. But we need one of those 3 guys to have a night like this basically every night. And to me, Anthony Black can just make such a big difference if he has this type of aggressive attacking mindset. That how many games have we said AB was aggressive tonight, but he wasn't really good? That almost never happens. Whenever he's aggressive, we come away from that saying wow, AB was really impactful tonight. Yep. So just wanted to give him a quick shout out. And as we talk through this, go ahead. I'm going to try to pull up his numbers of the last couple of games.
I was just going to say give him a shout out. And honestly, let's rope KCP and Gary Harris in there. KCP, Gary Harris, and Anthony Black combined for 4 of 10 from 3. So give them.
You're a dirty dog. Okay. Last 3 games, 11 points a game, 50% from the floor, 66% from behind the arc. That is going to be much inflated. It was so disrespectful what you just did there. But 11 points in 19 minutes from AB, adding 5 rebounds, a steal, a block, 1.7 assists. That's what we need from AB on, a nightly basis. And the most frustrating part of AB to this point in his young career has just been dude, you're capable of doing that every single night. It's just a mindset thing with him, which is something that we said about Franz the first 3 years of his career.
Good point.
I don't think anybody is accusing Franz this year. I haven't seen anybody say, Franz is being too passive tonight. Paolo went out. Franz changed that mindset and has never looked back. If we can get AB to do the same thing, man, that's when we're going to say, you know what, Jeff? You were absolutely 100% right not making a move at the deadline if it would have costed you Anthony Black. And that's what a lot of people are speculating, that a deal was not made because teams were asking for AB. And if this is the AB that we can get moving forward, adding AB next to Jalen and Franz and Paolo, that's a big deal.
Yeah, let's not forget earlier this season, and I mean early, the first month or so, we saw some really, really good stuff from AB. Really, really good. And almost everybody I saw across the Orlando Magic fan base was saying this is the point guard of the future. The backcourt of the future is Anthony Black and Jalen Suggs. So many people were saying it at the start of the season. He had a great first couple weeks, right? Then he falls off and has a pretty ho-hum rest of the season until the last few weeks, where we start to see that pick up. And don't get me wrong, he had occasional games during the season where it's like, oh, there's Anthony Black. But like you said, the last couple weeks have been really good. Friday against Memphis, he was not good. Not a good night for him, not just statistically, but even just optically. Like, had some bad plays, some bad turnovers. But then for him to bounce back tonight, score 23, not just that, but the 7 boards, the 3 assists, a steal, a block, only 2 turnovers in 27 minutes. It was a really good performance for him. And again, one where it looked like he was just kind of in control. Like, when he got the ball, he just did what he needed to do and made great decisions and knocked down shots and all those things that just, again, remind us of the potential that he has, and something that I think really bodes well for not just the future of the team, but the present too. Like you said, this team most nights just needs one more player to step up. Just one. Pick one. And if Anthony Black can do that more consistently, I think it puts us in good shape.
And I want to shout out Wendell as well. And we've obviously been very critical of Wendell, for things that are maybe out of his control, but are still, big factors in determining who's going to be a part of this team moving forward. But like the health with Wendell, but like also just having, this 6'10" guy who, is agile enough to be a really versatile defender and, get out and get rebounds and make energy and effort plays. And we haven't always seen that from him. But Wendell, since the All-Star break, in these 3 games, 27.3 minutes per game. He's back in the starting lineup. 10 points a game, 51, almost 52% from the floor. The shooting hasn't exactly come around yet, but he's giving you almost 12 rebounds a game. Like, that is a massive deal, for right now, a team that doesn't really have a ton of great defenders. Wendell being able to go out there and get you 12 boards a night and 10 points, like a double-double since the All-Star break, is a massive deal, and he looks more energetic, has been playing really well, so wanted to give Dell a shout out.
7 offensive rebounds against Memphis on Friday, by the way. Did Wendell have like crazy numbers? But yeah, got to give him credit. And then the other guy is Cole. Like, I know you mentioned him for a second there, but wasn't the best Sunday night against Washington, but like Friday he was super good. Thursday, if I remember correctly, he was good. Like, Cole has been significantly better basically since the trade deadline.
Dude,
not every
even
night.
Before that.
Was it before that? Yeah.
Cole's last 13 games, 12.5 points, shooting almost 47% from the floor, 40% from behind the arc, 3.4 rebounds, 3.1 assists, 1.2 steals a game.
Yeah.
Like, that is the Cole Anthony that we re-signed to that extension last year. And that's what we've been asking for Cole all year long. And honestly, like, he's even, in terms of efficiency, you could argue that he should be getting a few more attempts, right? Like, for me, a guard, I want you shooting 45% from the floor, and if you're an above average 3-point shooter, that's sort of like the bare minimum for me. So for him, 10 attempts per game, almost 47% from the floor and 40% from behind the arc, like, he's been really efficient. And, could definitely clean up the turnovers a little bit at times, but just like overall, Cole has been really good the last few weeks.
Yeah, and I just bring that up especially because we've given him a little bit of a hard time, right? This season, like you said, Wendell, but we also are absolutely never afraid to turn around and appreciate somebody who's turned their game around, right? And so, yeah, shout out to Wendell, shout out to Cole. They've been really good lately, and we just hope they continue that for the rest of the season.
Yeah, very quick vent sesh. Like, if you hit the little, the 15 with the circle arrow around it to like skip ahead, you'll probably miss this entire rant here. But people like will criticize us oftentimes, like, oh, you're not giving this guy credit, or you're too hard on this guy, blah, blah, blah. Like, we're hard on guys when they don't play well, but when guys play well, like, we try to make a point of talking about them, like, when they're playing well. So,
right.
Yeah, shout out to those guys. Those guys have been really good recently.
Which is why you won't hear us shout out Gary Harris or KCP today.
Dude, just catching absolute strays on this pod. But you're not wrong.
guys, KCP and Gary Harris tonight played the worst team in basketball and did not knock down a three. The two guys we brought in to knock down threes could not hit a three against the worst team in basketball. I don't understand. And part of me is, I didn't even think I was going to get fired up. Part of me is not sitting here blaming those guys because I don't understand. These guys are career 3-point shooters and all of a sudden they're just broken. So I don't know if it's their fault. Like, I'm not sitting here saying they're not giving effort or whatever. They just suck right now. They're bad basketball players offensively right now. And so it's hard to watch. When the team needs threes and you can't hit them against the Washington freaking Wizards, it's hard to watch. All right, that's all I have to say about that.
As bad as KCP has been, Gary Harris is actually shooting a better percentage from deep.
Right, yes.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
And like the beginning, like the defense has still been there. When we talk about guys that feed off of energy, I don't know if there's anyone on the team that feeds off of Jalen Suggs' energy more than KCP, because KCP has not been the same level of defender since Jalen Suggs has been out. I think right. Those guys, really, benefit from playing next to one another.
Yep.
But dude, like the 3-point shooting is just, it's genuinely unbelievable just how bad it is. And when I think of like the biggest kind of like free agency signings of Jeff Weltman, like going out and just getting anyone right from other teams, correct me if you feel differently, but I feel like Jeff Weltman's two biggest signings since being in Orlando was Al-Farouq Aminu and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. The Al-Farouq Aminu deal, luckily he was able to get out of it. And maybe not luckily, he did a good job of pairing a bad asset with a good asset to get out of that deal. But that one was like from the very beginning, it was like, this dude does not fit here whatsoever. But the KCP like signing is not looking like a good one. Like if I had to bet one way or the other right now, are we going to look back 5 years from now and say, hey, did that work out or not? I would probably guess that we'll say, no, it did not work out.
Yeah.
It's like hard because I'm almost to the level where, like, if they do decide to include him in a deal this summer, like just saying, hey, like he had a bad year here. He's got a great, like historically been a really good shooter, really good defender. He's just not the right fit for our team at this point, and move him, to a contender that might just feel like they're a couple pieces away and he might be like a piece that helps get them over the stretch with his experience and all that. If they decide to move him this offseason, I will not be super upset about it. If I was the one making the decision, I would probably bank on him bouncing back next year. But if they decide that they don't believe that's going to happen or they don't want to take the risk of it not, I don't think I will lose sleep over that.
The hard part for me is, and I feel like we're being a dead horse here. We probably are. On paper, it was a very good signing.
Everybody loved it.
On paper, it made so much sense. It was an instant upgrade at the 2-guard position. A guy that shoots the ball well, a guy that defends, fits perfectly with your defensive scheme. It makes so much sense. And that's why it's so frustrating that every single night, this is how it goes. Like, I agree. Like, at this point, I'm not indifferent. At this point, I'm saying let's deal him in the summer. Because I don't know that his stock is going to go up next year, right? I also am willing to give him these last 23 games plus the playoffs. Look, if he has a couple good games during the stretch and plays his tail off in the postseason, I'll reconsider. But as of right now, he's not moving the needle for our team. If anything, he's holding it back. And so, again, part of me feels bad for bringing down the energy here after a nice 2-1 start to the post All-Star break. But those two guys, they're wearing me out. Even tonight, they're wearing me out.
On wide open attempts this year, so 6+ feet is what the NBA considers wide open. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is getting 2 of those looks per game. He's shooting 33.9% on wide open looks this year.
It's crazy.
And on open looks, which is 4 to 6 feet in terms of like the closest defender, he is shooting 32.7% from three.
It's crazy.
That is just not good enough for a guy who you brought in to be a 38+% 3-point shooter.
Yeah. Do you want to look up Gary really fast while you're doing that for those? It's going to be
Gary
better
is,
that.
I think, like on wide open, I think it's like 38% for Gary. 4 to 6 feet, it's 25%.
Oh gosh, yeah, that's bad. That's real bad. But yeah,
excuse me. Gary on wide open, which is again the closest defender is 6+ feet away. It's 43%. So very good when he's wide open.
10% better than KCP.
Yeah,
wild, man, wild.
Not
and KCP's had way more of those, by the way, just by nature of being on the floor more this season. So I don't know.
Double, basically, probably like quadruple the amount, but per game, it's basically like double the attempts.
Right. Yeah. On the one hand, you like that KCP's durable. He's available most nights, so you'll give him that over Gary Harris. But combined, man, it's just exhausting. I'm exhausted from those two guys playing basketball. But anyway,
I do think you could just be like, hey, it was this team was infected by a virus this year, and you could just say we can't put all the blame on KCP for not shooting the ball well when the entire roster didn't.
Yeah.
And my thing is like, man, what if this carries over into next season?
Right.
Like, anyway.
But the problem is, and this is again, is the naivete of myself right here. Because I know that those guys are career above average 3-point shooters. I tell myself that those guys can get hot for 4 games in a 7-game series and lead us to win a first-round playoff series.
I will tell you this. If there's anyone on the roster that I would give the benefit of the doubt to in that scenario, it would be Kentavious Caldwell-Pope because he's won 2 championships.
Right. And Gary Harris because he's got a lot of playoff experience, too.
I'm not giving Gary Harris the benefit of the doubt because we saw him crap the bed last year against Cleveland.
You're right about that.
Games.
You're right about that. Yeah. I don't know. So yeah, it's exhausting, but I give up.
On to the week ahead. Tuesday versus Cleveland on TNT and True TV and Max, by the way. That's a new one. I didn't know we were doing NBA games on Max now. Thursday at home versus Golden State. Sunday at home versus Toronto. Toronto's going to be in Orlando for 3 or 4 days there. Maybe, I don't know if they get there Saturday. Yeah, they'll probably get there Saturday. So Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Toronto will be in Orlando with both of those games coming up. But Kevin, a big week here, massive opportunity for the Magic to sort of right the ship here. Again, Tuesday versus Cleveland, Thursday versus Golden State, Sunday versus Toronto. What do you think?
I kind of want to get crazy, Jonathan. Oh, I kind of want to get crazy. I'm already picking. Sorry. I'm picking them to beat the Cavs on Tuesday. I'm starting with that. I'm picking them to do it. I'm picking them to beat the Cavs on Tuesday. Revenge. We just have to get revenge in one of these games, and this is the game at home. I'm picking them to beat the Cavs on Tuesday. I'm picking them to beat Toronto on Sunday. Okay, so that's 2. And I think I'm just going to go crazy and pick them to beat Golden State. I'm going to say 3-0 this week. I'm saying you're defending the kingdom. You're winning at home. I think you beat Cleveland and it fuels you the rest of the week. I'm saying 3-0. I'm going out on a limb. I know. 3-0.
Okay. The only question that I have is Darius Garland missed tonight's game for Cleveland with a hip contusion. He has arguably been their best player this season. Him or, Evan Mobley. Darius Garland's just having a great year and obviously is a big component of what they do. If they don't have Darius Garland, I feel a little bit better. I would still probably pick the Magic to lose that game, especially when we factor in the Magic's record on national TV the last couple of seasons, which is not great.
Yeah.
Golden State has been playing well. I think they're 5-1 since trading for Jimmy Butler. And Toronto's been playing a little bit better as of late. Nothing crazy, but a little bit better. I'm going to go 2-1. I think you lose to Cleveland on Tuesday. If you lose, you have to split Cleveland and Golden State. If you lose both of those games, like you're just, if this team is still the team that we think they can be, they can't let 2 straight home opportunities when their season is genuinely on the line every single night from here on out. You just have to find a way. It doesn't make sense on paper. Statistically, it may not make sense. You just have to have the heart, grit, and determination to find a way to win one of those games. I just have to believe that. The way that they've played recently, it's very hard for me to buy into them winning both of those. If they win both of those, I don't even know where my head and my heart will be at that point. We'll be all the way back. But you have to beat Toronto Sunday at home. Like that's non-negotiable. It's not quite to the level of Washington. Like we should blow them out, but you should have like a 6 to 10 point win against Toronto on Sunday and again on Tuesday. Yeah. We're not talking about Tuesday just yet. I'm going to go 2-1. You lose to Cleveland, you beat Golden State, you beat Toronto.
Another prediction I'm going to ask of you, Jonathan. Does Jalen Suggs come back this week?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I think the absolute earliest that could possibly happen now is Sunday. Like if he starts practicing today, Monday, and that's the absolute earliest it could happen. I don't even think that's possible. So yeah, I don't think he comes back this week either. It's crazy.
It's tough. If I had to guess right now, I would say Tuesday or Thursday of next week, because those are your last games of the homestand, and then you're on a 5-game road trip.
Yeah,
and it just makes more sense to bring him.
Road trip, by the way.
It just makes a lot more sense, I think, to bring him back at home.
Yeah.
So I would say Tuesday, Thursday of next week at the earliest. If you told me he doesn't come back until sometime in that road trip, like he goes on the road trip with them with the goal of coming back, because it's not like the Franz or Paolo thing where you have sort of like you're on the road a little bit, you're home a little bit, you kind of have the luxury of waiting until you're at home. Like if he's not able to come back by the 6th, but he's kind of close, you're not back at home. Like you're on the road for 13 days.
Right. Well, the good news is I think they will come home between the Houston and New Orleans game, because you got time off there, but there won't be a home game during that stretch.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's more what I'm saying. Like you don't have a home game to bring him back at for 13 days. Like you're home March 6th and then you're home March 19th.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think we see him this week.
Yep, me neither.
Yeah.
Sucks.
All right. Yeah. Be on the lookout for Thursday's episode 500, featuring head coach Jamal Mosley. Looking forward to that. Eager to get everybody's feedback. And then March 14th, again, we will be at Stadium Club at Caribe Royale in Orlando, 8101 World Center Drive. Again, March 14th is a Friday. Magic take on the Minnesota Timberwolves. Tip-offs at 8 o'clock. The watch party will get going around 7:30. Going to be a great time. Anything else, Kev?
I think that's going to do it. Let's, hey, big week this week. If you're going to the games, be loud, show out for the team, drown out the Curry fanboys on Thursday. And yeah, let's get some wins.
All right, that's going to do it for this one. For Kevin Tucker, this has been Jonathan Osborne. You all have been listening to The Sixth Man Show, and we will catch you guys next time. See you.
Thanks for listening to The Sixth Man Show. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes and Spotify to get new episodes downloaded directly to your phone. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to give us a 5-star rating and a review. It helps out the show a lot. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Sixth Man Show. We'll catch you guys next time. Go Magic!